Well, good morning, Yidden. So we're going to look now at halacha that derives from the Gemara we learned yesterday. We learned in the Gemara yesterday one of the answers to the question of why our sages enacted a decree, they enacted a mitzvah, that is to drink 4 cups of wine, when seemingly 4 cups of wine is drinking in pairs, which is detrimental to the person.
Yes.
And the spiritual force. Zugos, pairs. And we shared at the end that this idea, one of the answers the Gemara gave is that each of the cups are independent mitzvah. Right? And we offered an explanation in that the separation of the four cups into 4 separate mitzvahs, well, the halacha we derive from that is that because it's 4 separate cups, this is what we shared yesterday. Therefore, you make 4 different brachas hagafen, because it's 4 different cups. And we talked a little bit about the seeming contradiction to the fact that if it's 4 different mitzvahs, seemingly you should make 4 different mitzvahs for a bracha, not 4 different hagafen. And we suggested an explanation because the point here is that the separation into 4 cups is the fact that it's 4 cups to enjoy. That's what we suggested. So I want to take you through my thought process that got me to that conclusion and look at the sources about this and see the Alter Rebbe's language and all the context. Okay. So let's begin with
This is your idea.
Sorry?
This is your idea.
Yeah, I'll tell you where my nuance comes in.
Okay.
You'll see all the sources, and you'll see where my nuance comes in, and where I'm highlighting, and why I believe why I'm compelled to say what I said.
Okay.
So let's begin with the not with the Shulchan Aruch, but the page there. Yeah. So you'll see there.
And this is from where?
The first text there. It's just a collection of texts I put together.
Okay.
And the first text is Rebbe's Haggadah. Right? We spoke about Rebbe's Haggadah before. Right? The Alter Rebbe wrote a Seder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a good Seder includes Haggadah also.
Okay.
Right? A Seder, in the old times, is put together. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we talked about this before, that a Seder is collecting liturgy that you're supposed to say as a Jew all year round, which includes a Machzer. We separated because we have cheap printing into Machzer, Haggadah, a Pirkei Avos, Shabbos davening, and Wiki davening. It's a bunch of different books.
It should be like a chita. It's supposed to be.
Well,
all in one.
It's all the liturgy you need to say, period. All of it. The old Siddurim won't waste precious ink and paper quoting Ashrei 4 times.
Right.
It'll have it once, and then I'll tell you, say Ashrei here, go back to the other page and say it. So if they can minimize, they'll minimize. Anyway, the point is, the Siddur includes Haggadah. The Rebbe writes a commentary on the Alter Rebbe's Haggadah. Short. So this is his commentary. Yeah? This is what we're looking at. That's what we mean when we say the Rebbe's Haggadah. So whenever I say the Rebbe's Haggadah, that's what I mean. The Rebbe's commentary on the Alter Rebbe's Haggadah. So Dalet, sorry? Yeah, Dalet Koises. This is at the beginning of the Haggadah, where we're informed that we are going to have an obligation to drink 4 cups of wine, right, by Kiddush. When we make Kiddush, we are informed that this Kiddush is the first of 4 cups of wine. Yeah?
Yeah.
So commentary on the 4 cups of wine. First of all, mitzvah divrei sefer. This is a rabbinic commandment. Not a biblical one, it's a minhag one. It's a rabbinic commandment. Right? Then he continues. Women are also obligated in this mitzvah. We learned that. Because they too were part of the miracle of the Exodus, which is why they're obligated, even though it's a time-bound mitzvah. And ordinarily, women are exempt from time-bound mitzvahs. This one they're obligated in because they were also part of the miracle. Yeah? So far, we're clear. This is all this. We've covered this in the Gemara. Yeah. There was primary objective in his Haggadah is to collect the sources and reasons and backgrounds for the Haggadah. So there was collecting from the sources we learned and putting it into the Haggadah. Yeah? Okay, now here comes the main part for our purposes. We do not make a bracha on the 4 cups, a bracha such as Baruch, etc. Blessed are you, God our Lord, who has commanded us to drink 4 cups of wine. We don't make that bracha. Why? Because we do them in breaks. Like you suggested, there's at least one opinion which says the counting of the Omer is one singular mitzvah divided in 49 days. So you couldn't, in that view, make a bracha on day 1 for a mitzvah you're going to be doing in the next 49 days. in between which you're going to be doing all kinds of other random other things. So likewise here, because the mitzvah is not done in one action, it's broken up, therefore no bracha. The Rebbe writes here. Yeah?
Could it also be because these are rabbinic?
No, because we make a mitzvah in every rabbinic mitzvah. You're going to do so tomorrow night.
You say Asher Kiddushan on
Tomorrow night, you're going to make a bracha on your menorah?
Yeah.
That's a rabbinic mitzvah.
and it's Asher Kiddushan.
Asher Kedeshanu.
Oh,
And when you wash your hands for Hamaitzi, it's a rabbinic mitzvah. You say Asher Kedeshanu. Okay, why that is a good question. It's a machlokes, what that means, why we say it, but we do. The simplest way to understand it is like Rambam says that Torah commands us to follow the sages, and the sages told us to do this. So by extension, we're following what God commanded us.
Got it.
Okay.
Good.
Simplest explanation, Rambam's explanation. There are others, but this is the simplest explanation.
Okay.
So we would have made a bracha, thank you Hashem, for the mitzvah of drinking 4 cups. We don't, lefi shei mufsakim, because it's a mitzvah that's broken up. Right? So from this perspective, how many mitzvahs are you fulfilling when you drink the 4 cups of wine? One singular mitzvah that's broken up, which is why you don't make a bracha.
Okay.
You with me or no?
Yeah, but
No. Yes or no?
But I would have thought
What are we missing?
I'm gonna wait for you to continue.
No, but it's something that's not understood before we go to you.
It's not understood. I think it's just contradictory.
To what?
We said that we do say a bracha on each of them.
Which bracha do you say?
Boy Pregath.
Which bracha are we talking about here?
Kirishanu.
Son.
Right. Okay.
You're talking about Haggadah. You're talking about Asher Kedeshanu?
Right.
Right? So we say we don't say Asher Kedeshanu, but what's the bracha Haggadah? Thank you for giving me wine.
Right.
Whether I was doing a mitzvah without wine or not doing a mitzvah without wine is irrelevant to the fact.
Exactly.
It's thank you for wine.
Right.
Here we're talking about thank you for the mitzvah.
Right.
To which we say we don't make that bracha because it's one singular mitzvah that's broken up. And you don't make a bracha on something that's broken up. You only make a bracha on something you're going to perform in its completion right now.
I would
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
I would have thought that, okay, it's broken up, but so you wouldn't say the bracha 4 times, but I would think you would say it once the first time, and then the other one.
So again, you can only do a mitzvah if you only make the bracha of the mitzvah if you're going to perform the entirety of the mitzvah right now.
Okay.
Because it's broken up, we don't. Yeah, this is a big question. For example, when it comes to the bracha we make over searching for the chametz, because seemingly you start tonight, at night, the night before Pesach, by searching for the chametz, but you don't complete the mitzvah till the next day when you burn the chametz.
So you don't say.
But you do make a bracha at the beginning.
You do, right?
How? So Rebbe explains this because after the real getting rid of your chametz is not in the burning, but in the declaration of disowning your chametz, which you do right after you conclude searching. So from your bracha, you don't stop until you finish making the entire mitzvah, which is search your home and declare everything else ownerless. So you can make the bracha on the act you're doing now, because from the bracha you're going to go and do the act without any interruption in its completion.
In its completion.
But here you're not doing that. You're not completing the mitzvah right after the bracha. If you were to make a bracha at the beginning, you're taking a break between 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, and between 3 and 4, and therefore no bracha thanking Hashem for the mitzvah. Yeah. Now let's get to the bracha of Haggadah. With that introduction, shelving this for the moment, we don't make the bracha of mitzvahs, right? There's birchas ha-mitzvahs and there's birchas ha-nehenin, as it's called.
Right.
Birchas ha-nehenin means the bracha over enjoying something.
Right.
So the bracha of the mitzvah off the table for Haggadah, off the table for the 4 cups, because it's broken up.
Right.
Now let's get to the birchas ha-nehenin, the bracha of thanking Hashem for the fact that I'm drinking wine, which is a separate bracha.
Yeah.
Let's get to now the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, chapter 474.
There is a big difference.
Yes, they're 2 separate brachas.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do both.
One is the mitzvah to sanctify or to
The mitzvah to drink 4 cups of wine.
right. Exactly.
And one is thanking Hashem for drinking wine.
So wait a minute.
You could do that. You do that both sometimes.
Right.
For example, Kiddush.
Friday night.
Exactly. Any Friday, any Yom Tov Kiddush, you
Right.
make Haggadah, thanking Hashem for the
Right.
wine, and then you make a bracha on Shabbos. Thank you Hashem for Shabbos.
Right.
Right. So you could do the same thing here. Make a bracha on Haggadah, make a bracha thanking Hashem for Yom Tov, and thank you Hashem for the mitzvah bracha of 4 cups.
Right.
But we don't add that other bracha because again it's broken up into 4.
Right.
Yeah.
It's broken up, then you essentially are not fulfilling the mitzvah.
You are just not in one shot.
Okay, but you never said that bracha again.
The bracha doesn't make you fulfill the mitzvah. A person who puts on tefillin without a bracha didn't do the mitzvah. He did do the mitzvah. He just didn't thank Hashem for it.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that something.
Yeah.
But the fact that.
Let's take it. Let's make this clear. Brachas are not a biblical commandment at all. It's a rabbinic enactment to thank Hashem for what you're doing.
No, understood. But,
So if you put on tefillin without a bracha, you fulfill the mitzvah.
but is it ideal?
Yeah.
Is it the most
Obviously not.
perfect way?
No.
No. Okay.
And therefore,
So therefore, just the mere fact that something is broken up,
yeah,
that negates the opportunity
of
for
making a
that
bracha,
set to have
a bracha.
proper bracha.
Yes. Correct.
I don't see how.
This is the sage's enactment. The sage's enactment is when you make a bracha, whenever you thank Hashem for something, you must fulfill that thing in its completion without any
Well,
interruption.
you are eventually. Maybe you should
Not in its not
attach the bracha at the end in this case. Then.
when you end the mitzvah,
After the
you're
fourth
stuck because you
cup.
have to do the mitzvah. You have to make a bracha before you do the mitzvah. But then immediately
But
following
that's-
it, you have to do the entire mitzvah. This is the principle of brachas, right? The commandment is
It's
still
like you're
fulfilled.
losing out in this case because it's been broken up.
Losing out on the bracha. So be it. Okay, so let's shelf that for now.
Okay.
We're going to come back to that soon. Now let's talk about. So we established that why we're not making a bracha, thanking Hashem for the mitzvah. Now let's talk about the bracha Haggadah. This is out in 474, the other packet, the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, chapter 474, Tov Ayin Dalet. So chapter 472, we learned already, talks about leaning to the left, and then the details of the 4 cups, like how big the cup has to be, what kind of wine, making sure it's tasty, right? That's what we talked about, engaging the kids. That was all in 472. 473, we learned some of it, but we're going to learn much more of it. Goes through the order of the Seder night from Kiddush all the way till the second cup of wine. So all the halachas of the Haggadah, the halachas of Karpas, all those halachas. That's going to be 472. 473. And then 474 says, as you can see in the title, a blessing is not recited on the second cup of wine. That's the title of 473, which is ironic because actually we do make a bracha on the second cup of wine. So
This
I
is
would
blessing, obviously.
means Hagafen.
Hanan.
No.
Hagafen.
Yeah, Hananin, yes, which is Hagafen, yes.
Yeah.
Hagafen. Yeah. So it's ironic that 474 begins with what's the title of the chapter? A blessing is not recited in the second cup, although we do. So why is that the title? Because again, the Alter,
Two different brachas.
because the Alter is, we're talking about Hagafen here. The Hanan is off the table now.
No, not Hanan.
Brachas HaMitzvah is off the table now. We're talking about Hagafen.
Right.
And then, so why is this the title? Because the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is building on Rabbi Yosef Kairo's Shulchan Aruch. And Rabbi Yosef Kairo's of the opinion that you don't make a bracha on the second cup. So that's how he titled that
And
chapter.
that's the
So
Sephardic
that title
custom.
still, and that's the Sephardic custom. And that title still remains. Now it so happens in that chapter, as we'll see soon, there is the gloss from the Ramah, which says, one second, Ashkenazi, we do make a bracha. So the titles of the chapter is going to be that we don't make a bracha on the second cup. But the halacha is going to be you do make a bracha on the second cup if you're an Ashkenazi. Yeah. So actually, so because I just said that, let's actually go back to the other packet and let's look at the actual text of the original Shulchan Aruch, right? Which is before we get to the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch. Yeah. So it's in the other packet there. I'm sorry. Look at the actual Shulchan Aruch from Rabbi Yosef Karo. Siman Tov Ayin Dalet, chapter 474, titled Al Kol Sheni Ein Mevarchin. On cup number 2, you don't make a bracha. Uboy, and in this chapter, Sif Echad, there's only one subsection.
Right.
Right, because all the Bet Yosef has to tell you is
Yeah, there is.
don't make a bracha. That's the whole chapter. So he says there, Aleph, Shoyse Kol Sheni. At this juncture, drink cup number 2. Right? Again, chapter 473 discussed all the laws of cup 1, Kiddush, all the way till cup 2, the whole Haggadah. And now in 474 he says, time to drink second cup. And then he says, Ve'ein mevarchin alav, you don't make a bracha on the second cup. Loi bracha reshona, not the bracha which comes before it, namely Hagafen,
Right.
because in his view, we'll say in a second, the loi bracha acharina, and you don't make an after bracha, because at the end of your meal coming shortly, you're going to bench anyway. Right? And he explains, She'ein mevarchin by Hagafen, you don't make a bracha thanking Hashem for wine, ki'im al koishal kiddush, only on the first cup, on the cup of kiddush. Al koishal berachas al-mazen, and on the third cup, which comes after benching. Right? Yes, we're familiar. We have the Seder of the Seder.
Yeah.
First cup Kiddush, second cup over the Haggadah. You didn't bench between cup 1 and 2.
Right.
So no bracha.
Right.
By cup 3, you're holding it during the benching. So by the time you drink it, it's after benching.
Yes.
So new bracha gofen.
Right.
In the Beit Yosef's view. Yeah.
Because
but
presumably the second cup is an extension of the first cup.
That's right. Because why shouldn't you?
As we learned in Kiddush.
That's right. You make one bracha at the beginning of the meal, and all the wine of the meal is covered, right? Until you bench.
Right.
Yeah.
Just make one. That's it. And if he says you don't make a bracha gofen only after.
Okay.
1 second.
But-
Oh, and you wouldn't make a bracha gofen only after the 4th cup of wine? I guess if you finish 4th cup and you bench and you have to drink another one afterwards, I guess that's what he means. Sorry, yeah, what do you say?
I don't want to throw a curveball here, but I feel like we said, since you brought it up, that the first cup, yeah, Kiddush, Chiyana, everything.
Okay.
No questions.
Yeah.
Second cup, already it's the meal, it's on the Haggadah. It's the Shulchan order.
The Shulchan Aruch hasn't done yet. You're doing the Haggadah, you drink the second cup, then you eat maror, matzah,
Oh, okay,
kairach, and then you start your meal,
right.
right?
Then you bench. Game
So-
over. No questions there. Now within the third and the fourth, you're not making a bracha korina?
No. You're going to make a bracha chana after the 4th.
Right. So
I'm sorry, Ein Mevarchen al Gefen
After
means
the third.
you don't make a bracha thanking Hashem for the wine only after the 4th cup. That's what he means by this line here.
yeah.
Yeah, not al Gefen as in Berik Gefen, but al Gefen as in you don't make the bracha thanking Hashem for having drunk the wine, the after bracha, until after cup 4. Yes.
Right. And
Which is why on cup 4 in the Beit Yosef's view, you don't make a bracha Gefen on the 4th cup.
oh wow.
Because
That's
you covered it by the
that's-
3rd cup.
That's in line because it's not 72 minutes in between both cups.
Yeah.
At least.
And even if it was,
Oh,
you knew when you made cup 1 that you're going to be doing all this stuff and then drinking cup 2. And when you made bracha on cup 3 after benching, you knew you're going to do all this stuff and make bracha on cup 4. So why should you make a new bracha gofen?
right.
This
So
view.
4 is an extension of 3 as well. So 2 and 4.
That's correct.
are
The only brachas you make on cup 1 and 3,
Right.
hagafen.
Because of benching.
In the view of the Beit Yosef, which follows a Sephardic custom in general, the Beit Yosef, as much as he can, tries to minimize the amount of brachas you make.
Huh.
That's generally speaking the Sephardic rule, because you want to avoid invoking God's name in vain.
Right.
Now, this position of Beit Yosef comes from obviously generations before him, and the position we're about to read from Ashkenaz also comes from generations before him, right? But they're each taking their own view.
Are they from the same era? They should have been Ramah?
Yes, if you came to Monday night class, you know that. Okay, one in Poland and one in the Ottoman Empire in Israel, in Svas. So Sephardi and Ashkenazi. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Okay, so what?
No, 'cause Ramah, he also wrote a code of Jewish law, but he was outpaced by.
That's right. So instead he wrote glosses to the...
Joseph Karen,
Correct.
so-
So instead he wrote glosses to the
so he
Yosef
wrote
Karo.
You can't beat him, join him.
We spoke about that on Monday night, that's right. Okay, so now let's see. So Haggadah comes the Ramah's gloss, or Moshe Isilis is the Ramah's gloss. And he writes, Minig ben Ashkenazim, the Minig amongst the Ashkenazim, we're still on the same page there. Yeah, you see the gloss, which is in like the other typeset.
Oh, the Rashi script.
The Rashi script, which is like the Ramah's gloss on.
Oh,
Yeah. So Minig ben Ashkenazim, the custom amongst the Ashkenazim is Levarech bracha rishona, to make a bracha rishona, a first bracha, that is to say Hagafen, al kol kois v'kois, in every single cup. On every cup we make Hagafen. Have a bracha achrona, but the after bracha, thanking Hashem for every drank wine, and mevorken rak achar, only after the 4th cup, levad alone. So even though we're making Hagafen on each of the 4 cups, we're not making a benching between each of the 4 cups. Follow? And says that this is actually the majority view.
Which is kind of it's kind of an anomaly in and of itself.
That what?
That you're not making a bracha corona. If you're making a bracha for each one, why are you not making a bracha corona?
So this is the big question. What's the reason? Why are we making a gafen each time if you're not making a bracha rishon? Bracha achrona.
Corona. Yeah.
Why? What's the
Yeah,
why are we doing that? That's the big question.
anomaly.
Correct. So one explanation. Okay, now let's get down to the Shulchan Aruch. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so we're building our case here. Yeah.
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 So now we know why the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is titled we don't make a bracha on cup number 2, even though he's going to rule like Ramah, which says we do make a bracha on cup 2.
Right.
But the title of the chapter still remains because he's using the Beit Yosef structure, the Rabbi Yosef Cairo structure.
Right, which is in line with how the Alter Rebbe is structured.
All the
code.
how many of the code? That's right. How many of the post Shulchan Aruch codes are built on the Shulchan Aruch? We spoke about that in Monday night also.
It seems like they keep the same numbering as well.
Correct. That's what makes
which I saw in the
which goes back to the Torah. So that way you can always find it. It's actually it's done that way on purpose, right? So if I say chapter 474, I can look in all the codes and it'll be the same chapter number.
Right, I saw that in the
Torah
Haggadah book.
That's right.
It says all the commentary had the same numbering as the code.
Correct. That's the point.
470 to 484.
That's the point. That's right.
Yeah.
That's the point. So almost all, not all, but almost all post Shulchan Aruch codes use the same chapter 6 system. The Mishnah Berurah, the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, the Kaf HaChaim, on the Sfardim, most of the ones I mentioned on Monday night use that same structure. Buildings, that way you can
continuity.
Correct. Okay.
Ease of learning.
Right. That was the idea we spoke about in Monday. Right. All right. So now let's see. Yeah, with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Aleph. Yesh noegin. There are those who have the custom, namely the Sfardim, not to make their bracha of Bari Pragafen al Koshin on cup number 2. Why? Because it's been covered by the Agafen you made on cup number 1. Okay. The likewise, what?
I never seen that witch hunt out of that context. That niftar means dead.
Niftar means exempt or moved out, right? So it could be passed on.
Okay.
It could also be like, I exempt myself. I went out of my obligation, like Yotze means go out.
Okay.
I exempt myself from my obligation because I've already done it.
Huh.
Okay.
It's the same spelling?
Yeah.
Okay.
And same root word.
Right.
Same root, etymologically, same word.
Right.
Okay. The likewise, this view says you don't make a bracha on cup number 4, because you've already been exempt from the bracha for having made a bracha agafen on cup number 3, which came after benching. Now he continues and explains himself. He explains his view more. Right. So again, we spoke about this Monday night. The Shulchan Aruch of Rebbe Cairo just says do, don't do. No rationale. The Alter Rebbe gives rationale. So he's now going to give the background to explain why they're thinking this way. And then when he introduces Ramah, when he introduces the Ashkenazic custom, he's going to have to give the rationale for why we do it that way. Right? Neither of which we saw in the Shulchan Aruch yet.
A lot of scholarship.
Yes. Okay. Now continues. Even though a big interruption has been made between cup 1 and 2 and between cup 3 and 4, Haggadah, with the recitation of Haggadah between 1 and 2, V'halal, and the recitation of Halal between 3 and 4, says, because I never diverted my attention from drinking. I knew, right, as he explains, because when I made the bracha on cup number 1 at Kiddush, I knew that I'm going to be continuing to drink at cup number 2. And likewise, when I made the bracha on cup number 3 after benching, I knew that I'm going to be drinking another 4th cup. I knew that. And additionally, even as I'm saying the Haggadah, which is, let's say, taking a long time, my mind is never diverted from the attention of the fact that I'm going to be drinking. Right? I knew as I'm reciting the Haggadah that at the end I'm going to be drinking another cup.
Right.
Moreover, if I wanted to, as far as the dry letter of the law goes, I could have even drink in the middle of the Haggadah. Right? We don't at the end of the day. Because we don't want to add to the 4 cups, but in theory that's a possibility. I don't want to go down that road now.
So in theory, the person just does the yanim and the cups and the wine and the leaning, and he can be.
But in the middle of cup of 1 and 2, he can drink another cup of wine because he's thirsty.
Right.
We don't, but in theory, yeah.
Right.
But we'll leave that alone. The point is, my attention was never diverted from the drinking. Now, even between 3 and 4, where there it's forbidden to drink. One may not drink between cup 3 and 4. So which means maybe I did divert my attention between 1 and 2. Between 3 and 4, I'm sorry. Yeah?
Yeah.
I did divert my attention. The rationale for why the bracha, the first cup covers the second cup is because at cup number 1, I knew I was drinking cup number 2. And by cup 3, I knew I was drinking cup number 4. And more importantly, during the duration of time between 1 and 2 and between 3 and 4 respectively, I never diverted my attention from the drinking. Right? So in between 1 and 2, he says, what's the proof that I didn't divert my attention of the drinking? Is because in theory, I could be drinking right now. But between 3 and 4, I may not drink. So maybe it does constitute a diversion of my attention. Because the halacha says, hey, you're not allowed to drink now. So maybe that constitutes a break between 3 and 4. Maybe. So he explains, the Komak nonetheless, again, in Beis Yosef, explaining Beis Yosef's view, explaining the Sephardic view, because cup 4 is sitting right in front of him. When do you fill up cup 4? When do you fill up cup 4?
At the end.
When do you fill it up?
Oh, after the third cup.
Right away.
Right.
So even though I may not drink between 3 and 4, as I'm reciting the Haggadah, the Hallel, I see that cup right there in front of me. So my attention has never been diverted from the drinking at all. That's right. And if my intention is, then when I'm done, I'm going to drink this cup that's right here. So my attention has never been diverted from the act of drinking. Therefore, and therefore, one is not required to make another bracha when he drinks cup 4, considering he didn't divert his attention since cup 3, and on cup 2, he doesn't make a bracha, considering that he hasn't diverted his attention since cup 1.
So, with that
Clear?
being said,
Good.
With that being said, when do we fill up the third cup?
You fill it up after your meal before benching.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good point. When you finish cup 1, almost right away you fill up cup 2. Because right after cup 1, it's not mamish right away, because you first wash your hands and do karpas, and then you fill up cup 2.
Right.
So this is a break there, which is maybe why the Alter Rebbe adds that the reason why you didn't divert your attention, because if you want to, you can sip more wine.
Now we have a problem.
Right? But by cup 3, as soon as cup 3 is done, you fill up cup 4.
Exactly.
So there's never a space in which the wine is out of my mind.
Right.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
And now we have a problem with the zugos again, no?
Okay, well, they can rely on other answers.
Now we're down to not 4 cups.
But let's leave that alone. But
All right.
in other words, but there's more than one answer to the question of zugais, right?
Yeah, there's Hananen and
No, there's more than one answer.
Rebbe.
The Gemara give a few answers to why it's not a problem of zugais. First, the Gemara said Galil Shimorim, it's a night to guard, and God guards us from
Oh,
evil.
that's right.
Another answer the Gemara gave is that because cup number 3 is a bracha of a mitzvah, a kosher bracha, a cup of blessing, it doesn't combine to bad, it only combines to good. So there's other answers you can do besides the one that we're focusing on.
Okay.
Right? But we will introduce that answer soon.
So I'm trying to understand why we went to discuss this issue.
Oh, you're talking about us in this class right now?
No, I meant this halachas right now.
We're doing that because it's going to bring us to, when we get to the Ramah's view, we're going to introduce the Gemara's answer from Zugais,
Okay.
which is, right now we're learning Beis Yosef's view, which is the counter view.
No, I understood.
Yeah, okay?
Yeah, good. Okay.
With me?
Yeah.
Okay, now it continues. Now, as for the fact that he has to make a bracha on cup number 3, which comes right after he finishes benching, even though if you're following the logic that anytime you make a bracha and you know what's coming next, you know about all the wine that's coming, then that hagafen covers all that wine. So when I made cup 1, I knew I was going to drink more than 3. When I made hagafen on cup number 1 at Kiddush, how many cups did I know I was going to be drinking?
3 more.
3 more. So why not cover all of them?
Well, because it's a separate mitzvah, right? For the
Not a-
benching.
Not a separate mitzvah, but what? Again, the issue is not mitzvah here. The
Obligation.
issue is hagafen. The fact that it's a separate mitzvah is not relevant right now.
Separate enjoyment.
You're introducing my answer, which comes after we looked at all this, right? My answer comes after all this. I'm taking through my thought process, right?
No.
But right now, what do we know? We're talking about hagafen.
Right.
Nothing to do with bracha mitzvah. We already established that you don't make a bracha on the mitzvah because it's whatever, one mitzvah broken up.
Right.
So shelf that. Hagafen. Why? I knew I wasn't drinking 3 more cups. So why am I making up? Why am I making a bracha hagafen on cup number 3? Simple answer, no?
Because you benched.
Because you benched.
Yeah.
The reason is when you bench, you're concluding everything you've done till now. All the meal item, all the eating or drinking is done. Right?
Yeah.
This is considered a break in my drinking. And a diversion of attention from drinking.
When you're benching.
And I'm benching. Because while I'm benching, I cannot drink. I cannot drink and talk at the same time. So while I'm benching, drinking is out of the question. Now, 1 second.
God, we said before about cup 4.
Oh,
you're not allowed to drink between 3 and 4. So what's the deal with 4?
But when it comes to reciting the Haggadah and Hallel, even though when I'm saying the Haggadah and when I'm saying Hallel, I also can't drink and talk at the same time.
Right. And just there's also a cup there, as there was for benching.
That's right.
You can't use that excuse.
That's right. Nonetheless, this is not considered a break or an interruption of my drinking. Why? This speaking of Haggadah and this speaking of Hallel is not a break and a conclusion on what came before it. What am I reciting when I say Haggadah? I'm actually reciting an activity that's leading to my next drink.
Right.
But what am I reciting when I recite the benching?
The meal is over.
Exactly. And if anything that comes afterwards requires a new bracha. Because what I'm stating is, hi everyone, my meal is over.
Right.
Yeah. And wine is part of the meal.
And wine's part of the meal. And for new bracha.
That's very
okay. So which means, like so far, the Beis Yosef's position actually sounds very rational.
100%.
So what's the reason for the Ramah and the Ashkenazim and all of those who say that you make a new bracha on each, you make a new hagafen on each of the 4 cups?
You're hard pressed.
Very hard pressed. So many different opinions, lots and lots and lots written on this. Okay.
It could break down to the fact that Ashkenazis are more lenient with brachas.
Well, yeah, that's true as a rule, but you still have to justify your position.
Oh yeah. No,
so
I'm saying as an overarching.
That's right. So if you didn't know everything I told you yesterday about being 4 different separate mitzvahs, and you only looked at this, what would you say the rationale of Ashkenazim is? They consider all these things a break. Right. When you recite Haggadah, it's a break from your first cup. When you recite Hallel, it's a break from your 3rd cup. That'd be the simplest way to explain it. Because the out there went through like these hoops and said, benching is a break because you can't talk and drink at the same time. And what you're saying is a break. But I can just as easily say that when you're reciting Haggadah, you can't drink and talk at the same time. The Haggadah is a break. It's a new cup. And the same thing with Hallel. You're not allowed to drink. The halacha says you can't drink. And halacha says you can't drink. That's a break.
That was a clear reasoning by the Rebbe, saying that the language of the Haggadah is not a break.
Right. So because in this paragraph he's justifying Beit Yosef.
Yes.
But you can go the other route and say it is considered a break and go Ramah.
Presumably we will.
Oh, he doesn't. Many of the halachic authorities who are giving the rationale behind the Ashkenazic position do say so. They say because the Haggadah and the Hallel is a break. He doesn't do that. What does he say? Let's go to the other packet. He takes from the Magen Avraham, but with one key difference. And that key difference is where I picked up my idea yesterday from.
Here we go.
So we're going.
Pop
a page. Pop a page. Top of page
2, right?
2. Okay, Magen Avraham. Magen Avraham is a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, specifically Ramah. We spoke about him on Monday a couple weeks ago. He's one of those super commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch that collect some of the post-Ramah Ashkenazic customs. Specifically, he's the one that introduces most of the Kabbalistic customs. He brings the Arizal into the page of Shulchan Aruch. Okay.
A commentary on commentary.
That's what you call them, super commentaries.
Super commentary. Right.
Okay. So it says the Magen Avraham. First,
Pri
Megadim is one of the other ones. Yeah, also an Ashkenazim. So he says like this. Al kol kos v'kos. He quotes the Ramah, which says, on each and every cup you make a hagafen. Yeah, and then he explains. Even though the Haggadah, the recitation of the Haggadah, lo have a hefsek, is not considered a break. So Magen Avraham concedes to Beit Yosef's position that the Haggadah is not considered a break. As explained in chapter 188, where there it talks about the laws of benching, and there it says that davening is not a break in your meal. So if you're mid-meal, you break for mincha, come back, no new bracha. because davening is not considered a break. So the Haggadah, therefore, is not considered a break either, just like Beis Yosef declared. So why is he making a? So what's the reason for the Ramah? Even the kol chada have a mitzvah b'fnei atzma, because each and every one of the brachas, because each and every one of the drinking of cups of wines is an independent mitzvah. Borrowing from our Gemara, you make a bracha on each and every one. So, till you saw Magen Avraham, what was the rationale for making 4 cups of 4 brachas? Because we consider Haggadah and Halal a break. But he's saying, no, I agree with the Beis Yosef that Halal and Haggadah are not a break. But you want to know why you make a new bracha Hagafen? Because each one's a separate mitzvah. What's your question now?
What's the separate mitzvah?
If it is a separate, well, no, he just says it is a separate mitzvah.
No, then is it?
Then why make a new Hagafen? What bracha should you be making? Exactly.
Yeah, that's
so you're giving a rationale for why you're making 4 separate brachas.
Right.
Because it's 4 separate mitzvahs. Okay, so makes 4 separate mitzvahs a bracha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the question of the next commentary of the Chok Yaakov.
Wow. A nice flow here.
Thank you. He writes, the kasha lefizeh, based on the Magen Avram's approach, that there's no break because of Halal and Haggadah. The problem is, the reason is because it's 4 separate brachas. We have a serious problem.
4 separate mitzvahs.
4 separate mitzvahs, I'm sorry, yes. Why? It's a serious problem. Al-Masha Pasuk HaTur v'Machaber. Soif Simin Tov Ein Hei. The Machaber, the Shulchan Aruch writes, and the Torah, in chapter 471, I think it should say, something's wrong with the numbering here. Anyway, there it says, the Mishchamoshcha Sudase Adalayla, someone who started, we learned this halachas way earlier. A person is eating his meal Friday afternoon, before Shabbos starts. And his meal continues into the nighttime. What does he do?
Covers his bread, right? In that case.
That's right. Paris Mappa. He covers his bread.
He
makes kiddush.
And then he resumes his meal without a bracha.
Without a bracha, which bracha?
Oh, wait, without B'rei Gafen.
That's right. Without making a B'rei Gafen. Vaha, but in this case, the making of kiddush is an independent mitzvah. Why did it make a B'rei Gafen? Follow?
Yeah.
What's he saying? When it comes to kiddush,
not a separate mitzvah you're saying here?
It is a separate mitzvah. But which bracha are you making on kiddush? Only the mitzvah bracha, not the Hagafen bracha.
Right.
When you're in the middle of a meal.
Not the right, only the mitzvah.
So if you, Magen Avraham, are saying the reason why you're making a new bracha is because it's a new mitzvah, then drop the Hagafen bracha. Make the mitzvah bracha.
Right.
Just like kiddush. If you're in the middle of drinking wine, because you started Friday afternoon drinking wine, and now it comes and you washed. Now it comes time to make kiddush. You cover the bread, pick up a cup of wine, recite kiddush without Hagafen, and then drink and keep on going. So do the same thing here.
We're doing the opposite.
We're doing the opposite here. Because it's a new mitzvah, you're making Hagafen.
Yeah.
That's the Chakak's question.
Seems strange. Yeah.
Great question.
Right?
Great question.
Very good question. And it goes on to say, it's a pulpul. It's a nice little flow. Okay.
It's got geschmack.
That's right. Okay. The truth is, based on the reason given by the Rosh in our tractate, the chapter of Arvi Psachim, which we are learning, where there he says, the rationale the Rosh gives for those opinions that say you make a bracha on each and every cup, because halal, Haggadah, and benching is considered a break. That's why you're making the new bracha. That was the other reason, rationale, not the Magen Avram's rationale. The other rationale for the Ramah. The Ramah just said make a bracha on every cup. Rationale, why?
It's a separate mitzvah.
That's Magen Avram's rationale. To which the Chok Yaakov asks,
right. No.
well, if that's the rationale, don't make a gafen, make a new bracha for the Asher Kedeshanu.
Right.
But according to the Rosh, who gives the rationale for why you're making a new bracha, because Haggadah, halal, and benching is a break, in Kain Lo Kasher Midi. There's no question here. Following?
Sorry.
Following? According to the Ramah just told us the halacha, no background.
Yeah.
Let's explain. So the Ramah gave us a halacha, no rationale. Just said Ashkenazic custom is to make a bracha hagaf on every single one of the 4 cups. Didn't explain why. He says, and that's the majority of most of the previous generations. Okay, so go to the previous generations and see their rationale, right?
Because there's a break.
So the Rosh says the reason is because there's a break. If that's the case, Chak Yaakov says I have no question. If the reason why you're making a new bracha on every one is because there's a break, that's why you're making hagafen. Because when you break and you're drinking, you make a hagafen.
Right.
Just like the
Anything.
Friday afternoon case.
Oh, so, and there's no question to Hassam, because over there, Friday afternoon, like a half siklal. There's no break from your drinking wine, which is why you don't make hagafen.
Yeah.
Why is there no break? Because which bracha comes first when you make kiddush? Hagafen or the kiddush bracha? Hagafen comes first, which means when you come to the point when you should have made hagafen, you didn't break from drinking, so no hagafen. Al kain ain't tzarich levarach shenis. That's why you don't make another bracha. Ach lefi masha kasav Magen Avraham, but based on what the Magen Avraham wrote, that the reason for making a new hagafen is because it's a new bracha, because it's a new mitzvah. I'm sorry, kasha. It's a very serious question. Why are you making a hagafen just because it's a new mitzvah?
Yeah.
Clear?
I think you're probing at something that I often wonder, but I never asked.
Which is
Havdalah. When I say Havdalah, we say we're pregafen, but we don't drink. We then say the
same thing
bracha
by kiddush.
on smelling, and then on doing the ice. So,
Same thing with kiddush.
but shouldn't the bracha for hagafen be the last one? So this way,
Very good question. And the Gemara is going to discuss it later. Big machlekes Basil Bashamai.
right?
We'll discuss it. But for now, we're going to accept that the bracha hagafen comes first.
Because the action comes right after the mitzvah.
Great question.
Right after the
Great question.
okay,
And we're going to deal with that in the Gemara.
right, okay,
But excellent question. That's a very good question. The Gemara is going to deal with that. The principles of why that is.
Right.
But this is the halacha right now. We don't make hagafen.
okay.
So we clear on the Chak question? Okay. So considering that the Alter Rebbe knows all of this, go back to the Alter Rebbe's text. Yeah? So which rationale would you hope the Alter Rebbe picked up on? The Magen Avraham's or the Rosh? Well, hopefully,
Rush.
he would have taken the Rosh, because the Chak was a very serious question on the Magen Avraham's position.
Yeah,
So you hope he would take the Rosh and say that the reason why we Ashkenazim make 4 brachas is because it's a break. But the Alter Rebbe doesn't do that. He takes the Magen Avraham's rationale, but adds 2 words. Which 2 words does he add?
The ones you mentioned.
Derech Eretz. And that's what made me think of this whole explanation. That's the 2 words Alter Rebbe adds to the Magen Avraham, and that changes the whole reason here. It's not a new mitzvah. It's a new mitzvah of Derech Eretz. That's what's hagafen. This is my rash. This is my thinking. Let's see the Alter Rebbe's language.
That becomes consistent then because right?
Because the separation of mitzvah is in the enjoyment element, not in the drinking element.
Say hagafen because there's breaks.
Because there's breaks that make it a
But
new
it's
enjoyment.
not a mitzvah because
The break here is
because it's for enjoyment.
that's right. In fact, we already began what we shelved at the beginning, which is why don't you make a sheker d'shem mitzvah?
Because it's
But it's a singular mitzvah,
split up,
which means it's a singular mitzvah, not 4 different mitzvahs.
singular mitzvah.
So never mind the Chak Yaakov's question that if it's separate mitzvahs, you should make a new sheker d'shana. According to the Rebbe, it's actually 1 mitzvah. That you don't make a sheker d'shana because it's 1 mitzvah divided into 4 times.
Right, and you can't.
So what's the new mitzvah here each time you drink?
recite-
It's a new derech eretz, a new enjoyment, and therefore hagafen comes with it. So let's see how the Alter Rebbe says it.
And you can say it because there's breaks in between.
That's right, because you're making a new enjoyment.
So that
Atazai.
falls consistent.
Correct.
with the logic there.
It's a separate and new enjoyment. Okay, very good. Let's see halacha beis in the Alter Shulchan Aruch. Well, Medina Zelu, in our countries, Ashkenazic countries, Noyagin, our custom is levarech al kol shedi v'revi, to make the bracha hagafen on the 2nd and 4th cup. Obviously on the 1st and 3rd also, but on the 2nd and 4th as well. Why? The fished dalal kosis elu, these 4 cups, tiknu chachamim lishtois derech eros. Our sages enacted that you should enjoy them each. They should each be drunk in a manner that expresses freedom. They should each be enjoyed separately. Each and every one is a freedom and mitzvah on its own. So what's the definition of the new mitzvah here? A new drink, a new enjoyment.
Right.
Look at the Magen Avraham. Go back to the Magen Avraham's language. What does he say? After the square brackets. Nevertheless, even the kol chad v'chad have a mitzvah for atzmai. Each and every one's another mitzvah. Doesn't explain what mitzvah. And the Alter Rebbe adds, chederus mitzvah for atzma. It's a freedom and mitzvah on its own. It doesn't just say it's another mitzvah each one, but each one's another chederus and a mitzvah. So this is where I got this whole idea from. That the Alter Rebbe, knowing the question of Chak Yaakov, added these words chederus to indicate that the new mitzvah here is the new mitzvah of freedom, the new mitzvah to enjoy. And that's why it invites a new hagafen, rather than a bracha of mitzvahs. Because bracha of mitzvahs actually is not done because it's really one big mitzvah.
Right. Well, you can't add it.
But it's a new enjoyment each time. Okay? Therefore, they don't combine to each other to be exempt by one hagafen. Because it's a new enjoyment each time. It's a new chederus each time.
And you get around the Chak Yaakov
because correct. Because now it's an enjoyment issue, not a mitzvah issue.
Not a mitzvah.
That's right. Or it's a mitzvah of enjoyment. It's a mitzvah to enjoy. Each one needs to be made a bracha on its own. Okay, let's conclude now go back to the other text.
He doesn't mention in Halacha base, the Alter Rebbe
that the Haggadah and Halachic considered a break.
There's no break.
Because
that there is break.
Because it's very difficult to make the Haggadah and Hallel be a break, for all the reasons he explained by the Beis Yosef.
Okay.
It's difficult to say so because
okay.
Just like regular davening is considered a break. Okay. So he avoids all the issues by adding that chederus word.
Because he's more in line with what
the Beis Yosef thinking. Exactly. Except that here there's a mitzvah to enjoy it separately each time.
So that overrides.
Exactly. A similar halacha, by the way, is, for example, is if you make hagafen at the beginning of your meal, and then a new bottle of wine arrives, and this new bottle of wine is significantly greater than the first one.
Right.
You make a new bracha, but you make a new bracha because it's a new enjoyment. Right. So when there's a new enjoyment, in this case by Torah's command, by the sage's command, the sages say, enjoy a new cup, a new chederus. So I have to make a new hagafen to express my new enjoyment.
So that applies even outside of Pesach.
In certain senses, if there's a new enjoyment, there's a new bracha.
New enjoyment.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's all on the brachas on that.
Exactly. So now let's see the Rebbe's language, where he goes more brief, but the same point. The Rebbe's language and the Rebbe's commentary on Haggadah, right, where he collects from all the places and gives the reasons. Yeah. So look, it's page 3 on the packet there.
Right.
On cup number 2, the Alter Rebbe's instruction in the Haggadah is to make a bracha hagafen on second cup. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Consistent with the Ramah and yeah.
Yeah,
it explains. Now the Rebbe says, we make a hagafen on each and every one of the 4 cups. You don't make an after bracha, and only after the last one. Okay. The reason is because each of the 4 cups mitzvah is considered a mitzvah and a manner of freedom on its own. It's not covered by the bracha of the other one. Mitzvah derech chederus.
That's just going back to the Gemara. They use those 2 words.
So exactly. The Alter Rebbe is actually taking the Magen Avram, but not really. Right. He's taking the Magen Avram source, where the source itself says derech chederus. Right? See, it's almost like the Magen Avram. The question now becomes in the Magen Avram. According to you, Magen Avram, that independent mitzvah is just the fact. It's an independent mitzvah. A, why aren't you making a sheker shon mitzvah one like the Chak Yaakov asked? Right. And B, why did the Gemara put the words to derech chederus in there? When the Gemara said it, the Gemara said derech chederus. You are skipping those 2 words. So why didn't the Gemara skip those 2 words? Says Alter Rebbe, no, those 2 words belong there. Because the new mitzvah here is not a new mitzvah. It's a new mitzvah to enjoy. Right. Which is why it invites a new hagafen. This is my little take on this whole discussion. But the Indian bracha you don't, because it's one bracha till the end, even if there's a separation and so on. Right?
This is very
There's no diversion of attention.
It sort of like parallels the arguments that we were having with meaning. Is it a separate mitzvah? Is it combined? I mean, it's not exactly the same.
Yes, it is. It is parallel. And when I published my findings, I actually cited to that sikha, where you see there's 2 separate elements here. There's an element of drinking wine, and then there's an element that the drinking of wine has to be done freedom, and then there's a whole other element which is tonight you have to express freedom in all you do.
Right.
Right? Indicating there's a separate element to mitzvahs, at least at the night of the Seder, with
Derek
a derech cheres element.
is also.
That's right. Which has to be enjoyed, because we learned that if you drink the wine raw, so you fulfilled your mitzvah of drinking wine, but not derech cheres, not the enjoyment. Right. So we see that the derech cheres is associated with enjoyment.
Right.
And therefore, if it's a new derech cheres, a new agafen, because that's expressed in the enjoyment. This is, I suggested explanation here. Okay, tomorrow, we're running late already. Tomorrow, God willing, we're going to just conclude this chapter 474. There's one more halacha, which we'll learn just to complete the whole simon, the whole chapter, and then we'll get back to the Gemara's discussion on these supernatural spiritual elements that could be negative and how to avoid the pairs. We're going to continue that tomorrow, God willing. A wonderful day.
I'm going to put them in here.
Yeah.
Did you cover in your class who is the Chok Yaakov?